This video will instruct you on how to install a 2-stroke bicycle engine kit on a bike. Now before we even start, it's important to know what you're getting into and what you need to make sure installation goes as smooth as possible. First things first, the bike. Even though the engine kit is made to be as universal as possible, a few key features your bike should have will make installation a lot easier. Your bike needs to be a standard male beach cruiser, road, or hardtail mountain bike. The tubes should be 25 to 28 mm in diameter with an open V-style frame. The frame should also have a 9 to 11 inch of clearance between the bottom bracket and top bar. The kits will fit most 26 inch by 1.75 inch wheel with a standard 12 or 14 gauge 36 count spoke. If you're in these right specifications, then you're good to go. Every engine kit should come with the following: a 2-stroke engine block, a carburetor, muffler exhaust, a chain guard, clutch cable and throttle cable, throttle assembly, which is the grips and kill switch, clutch lever, a drive chain idler pulley, the 415 engine drive chain, a 2-stroke spark plug, the electron ignition coil, a 1.5 or 2.5 liter gas tank, a fuel line, a gasoline tank switch or fuel valve, a sprocket clamp assembly, a 44-tooth chrome drive sprocket with 9 holes, the heat shield spring, which is the large spring, and a recoil spring, which is the extension clutch spring, and other miscellaneous hardware. This is a rear sprocket clamp assembly with it all attached together. It comes with 9 bolts and nuts, a pair of metal plates, and a set of 3 metal plates on the other side, with 2 grommet pieces in between. Now at this point, go ahead and unscrew the nuts and organize your pieces. All the nuts and bolts are 10 mm head sizes, and the tools you'll need are a pair of 10 mm socket wrenches or an optional open wrench and scissors. If you're working with a coaster brake arm, you have to remove it. Make sure not to accidentally disassemble the entire axle doing so, however, so take special care. Next, grab one of the grommet pieces and cut a straight line between any of the 2 holes. Thread it through the hub like so. Check to make sure all the holes has a clear opening through the spokes. Now just do a quick check by dry fitting the sprocket, making sure it fits. Now step 4 is the longest and most time-consuming portion. Set up all the metal plates and align all of it with the sprocket. Now start pushing the bolts through the assembly. You want the 3-way plates to be on the back end. Now you notice that these bolts already have the nuts on, but it's really only there to keep them in place until I start installing the plates. You have to remove them after. Now, the reason why you need to use these plates is because they act like balance boards. For example, if you place a bowling ball in the middle of a mattress, it'll sink where it lands. However, if you place a board on top of that mattress and then place the bowling ball, the weight of the ball will be dispersed more evenly. This is basically what the metal plates are doing. We are distributing the torque of these bolts more evenly, and it's important for proper sprocket alignment. It also requires a lot less tuning, which is why it's important to install these plates on the sprocket clamp assembly, which is pretty smart. So we made it to step 5. Once all the pieces are put together and the nuts are all hand tightened, go and tighten down the bolts with the wrenches. You want to tighten it down as tight as possible without bending the spokes. The key is tightening everything down evenly, sort of like doing it in phases. So you want to tighten them down at the same level every time. As you tighten the bolts down, keep watch of the center sprocket. Make sure it still stays centered throughout this process, or else you'll risk having to loosen the bolts and adjusting the sprocket again. Once it gets tighter and tighter, you'll notice that any overlap you encountered with the metal plates from the beginning should go away. Now, step 6 is optional. If you want to reinstall the coaster brake arm, you're more than happy to do so. For the most part, the coaster brake arm should clear the bolts from the sprocket. However, depending on certain rear wheels, it just won't happen. For this, the 12 gauge 26 inch rear wheel, it unfortunately does not do so. We are unable to clear the bolts. So with that, you have 2 options. You can bend the coaster brake in 2 places, explained in the 4-stroke video, or you can ditch the coaster brake arm and install caliper brakes on your bike. Whatever you do, make sure you have brakes. They are very important to have with motorized bikes, and we strongly recommend being safe when riding these. Once you're done, reinstall the bike chain and bolt the rear wheel back on the frame. That's it. Engine mounting can go one of two ways, easy or a little challenging, and all that depends on your frame style. An old style beach cruiser frame will more than likely be an easier fit for your engine because of the consistent tube diameter and center crank position. If your bike is in this style, mounting the engine is self-explanatory and it's a simple setup. Newer styles generally have a larger down tube diameter, a larger top tube diameter, or forward pedaling crank positions. For this demonstration, we picked a bike with all three styles. To combat larger down tubes, the engine kit comes with a universal U-mount. To combat forward pedaling cranks, you have to purchase and install the J&M vibration motor mounts. If you have both styles, a large diameter down tube and forward pedaling cranks, you need both the vibration motor mounts and the heavy-duty universal U-mount. If you only need to install the universal mount, you first must prep the engine. Step 1. Remove the front engine mount studs. You can either use vice grips or the 2-nut method to remove it. The 2-nut method requires 2 threaded nuts with the top one and the bottom one threaded together and tighten up as tight as possible between them. Then, take an open wrench and torque the bottom nut to start removing the stud. Once removed, place the universal mount over the threads and install the bolts that came with the universal mount assembly. And that's it. Universal mounts are pretty easy to install overall. If you, however, purchased our DIY engine biking kit combo, most of them include the J&M vibration motor mounts due to the forward pedals on the beach cruisers we carry. To install these, remove the front and rear mounting studs using the same method as mentioned earlier. 2. Replace them with the extended mounting studs from the kit. 3. Thread the rubber mounts and you're done. Go install it on your bike. For this bike, we are encountering both issues, so to solve it, install the J&M vibration motor mount, position it on the bike the way you want it mounted, and then take the HD U mount, remove one of the 2 U brackets, and install it on the bike like so. The parts of the clutch are the clutch